All right, so far we've talked about cognitive development, Piaget and the stages of cognitive development. Piaget and the stages of cognitive development. We have talked about attachment theory, the different factors contributing to attachment, touch, which was Harry Harlow, and then familiarity, and with imprinting with Konrad Lorenz. Talked about the different types of attachment, Mary Ainsworth's strange situation test, and how different types of attachment affect us later on in life. And we talked about parenting styles, the 4 different parenting styles, and what those are and how they affect us later on in life. Now we have to talk about moral development. How do our morals change? How are they shaped as we get older? And most and specifically, okay, how do we justify our decisions? Okay, how do we justify our decisions? All right, that's what they look at. So we're going to go through these, and then we're going to look at the Nearpod that I had you all do last class, the Heinz dilemma, and we're going to look at that and see what people's responses were like and how they would be categorized in terms of which stage of moral development they are in. So, first stage of moral development, which is about before the age of 9, although the age ranges for moral development are a little bit more fluid. We can kind of jump back as we get older, we can jump back and forth from one stage to another in terms of our moral reasoning. But basically, before the age of 9, this is the only type of moral reasoning little kids can do. It's what's called pre-conventional morality. At this age, morality is based on self-interest. Okay? If they get something good out of something, if they are rewarded for it, then it's okay to do. But if they are punished for it, then it's not okay. Okay? They learn that they should follow their parents' rules because they will get a reward if they do that. Little kids have a very black and white view of morality. Like things are either right or wrong. And they make those judgments based off of what the consequence of something is. So does anybody in here have like a young sibling or a sibling that's younger than age of 9, like maybe 5 or 6 or 7? Anyone? No? Oh, okay. Well, little kids at that age, like that's why they're like very like little kids are tattletales a lot of the time because they just have in their mind like, all right, this is either so if they know that if they cuss, then they will get in trouble and they hear you cuss, they're going to go and tell on you because you just did something that they get punished for. And therefore, you should get punished for it as well. Because they get punished, they know that it is wrong. The example I always like to use for this is like if you ask an 8-year-old if they're going to drink before the age of 21, what are they probably going to say? All right, yeah, they're probably going to say no. All right, what is their why are they going to say no? What's going to be their reasoning for not? All right, it's what they've been told. All right, they'll get punished for doing it. Okay, they were told not to. They told it was bad. It's against the rules. So therefore, they are not going to do it. All right. All right. After that, in what is called adolescence, okay, which is basically where you all are right now. Adolescence goes from like age 9 until 17, 18, somewhere around there, is what is called conventional morality. Conventional morality is focused on following societal conventions. Now, what does that mean? What is a societal convention? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jonah, for contributing. Okay, basically, at this age, all of our morals are based around following societal norms, things that are normal in a society, and being accepted by others. Okay, being accepted by others. Think about as teenagers, there is nothing that is scarier to you than, and this is kind of true. Nothing is scarier to like a teenager than being ostracized from the group, than not being accepted by your peers. Um, so at this age, we basically a lot of times we do things. A lot of our moral justification is based off of if society thinks it's wrong or if your peers think it's wrong. And we do a lot of things because we are very concerned about the opinions of others. You know, if somebody goes to vote, and asks why, they say, well, because other people will look down on me if I don't vote. That's conventional morality. So if you ask a 14-year-old if they're going to drink before the age of 21, what are they going to say? All right, it depends on who asks, yeah. Okay, but it also depends on something else. All right, Sylvia says, yeah, probably. They might say yeah, but they also might say no. Right? But and what does that sort of depend on? Is anybody here other than Sylvia, Jonah, and Lemuel and Evan? Like, am I just talking to four people right now? Okay, who you're asking, right? But think about it, guys. Think I'm asking this question with about like basing it off this stage of moral development. If everything is about acceptance from your peers, right? Catherine says depends on who they're with. Yep. Okay. All right. Depends on who they grew up around. Yeah. It depends on what their friends are doing, right? If your friends are already partying, then they're going to be like, yeah, probably, right? But if they're not, and their friends are going to like look down on them if they do, then they're probably going to say no. Okay, so a lot of the morality, especially early on in this stage, is very much based off of just societal norms and fitting in. Now, later on in this stage, now in each of these stages, there are like sub stages. You don't need to know them. But later on in the stage, it goes into what is more called like a law and order, and not like law and order, like when Trump tweets law and order, that means something else. That's a dog whistle. Okay, but law and order, where a lot of our behavior is based off of um, not throwing off the balance in society. understanding that there are laws in place to keep everything in order. And so we need to follow the law to make sure, like, we don't run, you don't run a stoplight because then the societal balance will go off. We listen to authority because we want to make sure that everything just stays the status quo. We don't want to throw off balance in society. All right. Richard Nixon was the law and order president, which is ironic, considering he committed a federal crime while in office. All right. So, any questions there about conventional morality? All right. Lastly, this one's easy because there are only 3 stages. Post-conventional morality. Post-conventional morality is post-adolescence. A lot of you all have started to develop it already. That it's either mid-teens, or some people never get there. Just like with formal operations. With post-conventional morality, you sort of have to have the ability to think abstractly. Ooh, sorry. And this stage is this moral justification is based around your own self-defined ethical principles, your own personal beliefs about what is right and wrong. And a lot of this is based around the idea of the social contract. Now, they may remember from civics what the social contract is. You don't have civics yet. Okay. Well, somebody has had. Yeah, just yeah. That the idea that we give up some freedoms for protection from government protection. It's also the idea, though, that if the government is imposing laws, that because laws should be the will of the people. Like any law that's in place should be because the people want it in place. And if the government's imposing laws that the people don't want in place, then it's the people's job, and it's the people have a right to not obey that law. So if there's something that you think is unjust, right, then you have the right to not obey it. This is post-conventional moral thought. If weed's illegal in North Carolina, but if you think, smoking weed isn't going to hurt anybody, I'm just kind of doing it to chill out, and say, like, I'm still going to do it even though it's illegal, that's post-conventional. That's your own personal set of ethics. Um, another example of this is what is called civil disobedience. Does anybody know what civil disobedience is? Anybody other than Jonah? Well, but you all are saying no. Okay, think about those words. What does civil mean? It's it's breaking the law, but what does the word civil mean? All right, polite. Yes, it's not breaking the law to be chaotic. Civil means when you're being civil, you're being very reasonable. It's reasonable disobedience, like Rosa Parks, knowing that it was against the law for her to sit at the front of the bus, but she wasn't doing anything violent. She just sat at the front of the bus because it was a law that she didn't agree with. Or like um, conscientious objectors during Vietnam, people who refused to go to Vietnam when they were drafted because they were morally against war in general. And so they burn their draft cards and whatnot. That is post-conventional morality. All right, are there any questions there? Okay, now, let's see.